Joining us on the show is a man who serves as the programming coordinator and member of the selection committee for the Florida Film Festival. We're going to pick his brain a bit about the current state of the film industry and the festival circuit, as he also attends several of the big ones every year. He's a longtime friend to Paper Street Pictures, Mr. Tim Anderson. Tim, thanks so much for being on the program here with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Just to get started, you've been a longtime champion of independent cinema, of genre cinema, of film in general. Will you tell us first what gave you the bug initially? Was there like a movie or a movie-going experience in your youth that you can like pinpoint that really set you down the cinephile path?
I mean, I know the movie that made me like really into movies in a way like where I felt like I wanted to know more about movies and kind of not ever stop watching them. And that was actually Casablanca, which I saw in the theater on its 50th anniversary. But I mean, I'm from the age where, I saw Star Wars in the theaters on its original run and Indiana Jones and E.T.
Stating yourself pretty badly at this point.
Oh, I know. It's terrible. On the internet, everyone's young.
Or everyone lies about it regardless. So how did you find yourself running the Florida Film Festival?
Well, I don't run it. I'm not the programming director. What I am is the programming coordinator, which is basically the gatekeeper. So anything that's submitted by any filmmaker, all the contact that goes on from that point forward is all run directly through me. And I'm the point of contact for everything that gets on screen. And I happened into that job by being on selection committee for several years, and the position opened up and they asked me if I wanted to do it. And I said, yeah, my current job in financial services is awful. So yeah, I'll watch movies for a living.
So do you actually work for the Enzion Theater as well, or just is that related to the festival?
I actually work as the programming coordinator for Enzion as well, under the same programming director, Matthew Curtis. So I'm 50% responsible for everything that gets on screen at Enzion, and that's in all of our specialty programming as well.
Right, and for those who don't know, Enzion is Orlando, Maitland specifically, art house theater, shows a lot of cool, everything from, independent to... Do you guys still do first runs as well?
Yeah, we're our first run art house theater. We're actually, I think, the highest grossing art house theater in the state per screen because we only have one screen, as opposed to some of the other art houses that are around that have two or three. But yeah, we're running nothing right now along with everybody else.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a bit here.
First run.
So I wanted to kind of go back a bit about how you got into film festivals and what really sparked your interest towards the area of the industry about like programming and curating for festivals. I'm curious, did you ever have any interest in other aspects of the industry, like becoming a filmmaker yourself, writing, film criticism, and kind of how you ended up specifically in that programming?
Yeah, actually, my path to getting into programming it follows pretty much exactly what you're kind of alleging, which is that in college I took film production classes. Actually worked on a music video for Flock of Seagulls, his comeback album.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know. And then I also took journalism classes and like film theory. And after that was over, I got a job working on a small college music magazine. And after a few years of writing music reviews, I morphed into film. And then in 2000 actually is the year that I went to my first South by Southwest, and I went to Cannes that year and did coverage from them. And from that, I dabbled in producing, and I still do that really only for friends at this point. So I've done a couple of music videos for the Dolly Rots in the last 2 years, which is just a band I've known since college. But I got into curating basically by taking over a local film showcase in Orlando in about 2010. And then after a year programming that, they asked me if I would be interested in programming for the Florida Film Festival. And by that point, I'd already written probably 3,000 or 4,000 reviews for different places like Amazon and Film Threat. And I was working full-time for Bloody Disgusting for like 5 or 6 years. And I hosted their podcast. And I don't know, it was kind of a really weird natural progression. But I guess you might lay the blame on the fact that I got a job at a Blockbuster when I was 17.
Wow, so you've pretty much checked all the boxes in terms of things that filmmakers have dabbled in over the years, which is awesome because I think you'll have a great mindset for kind of my next question, which is coming at it from a filmmaker's perspective. A lot of us, I say us because I'm also a struggling indie filmmaker myself, like getting into festivals can be kind of an elusive process. And I know there's not one set of universal criteria. From your perspective with your festival, in a nutshell, how do you go about deciding what films you will or will not book at the Enzion? And specifically, what makes a film a good fit for the Florida Film Festival?
I think there's two birds in there to kind of tackle. The first one is for Enzian, we know exactly who our audience is, and so we have structured programs for that. We know the first run is going to be like, art house movies. We won't put anything on screen that we don't love. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the marketplace. We only have one screen, so if we're going to give up the screen time for it, it's got to be for a movie that we're personally championing. So I think what you're getting when you come to Enzian is this idea, whether it's a cult classic or a Music Mondays movie or a regular run indie, you're getting an idea that you come there because you like the stuff we do. With the Florida Film Festival, all bets are off. The goal there is to just jam the needle as far, to the left or right as we possibly can to take you to the edge of the cliff and shove you off of it. We always say that there should be a movie for everybody, but not every movie is for everybody. We want to push your buttons and push the boundaries of film. So we're always looking for movies in the Florida Film Festival that are taking the general stories and narratives that kind of everybody has, treaded all over for eternity at this point and delivering them in a really personal or interesting or unique way.
Got it. So if I was a filmmaker and I have this really unique personal story and I'm submitting it to the Florida Film Festival, is there anything I can do to better my chances at it getting in? Or is it really just kind of up, the curators, something like touching them personally?
Well, we have a selection committee. Each committee is made up of 3 individuals, and they are the final selections team, and they watch every single movie that's submitted on their team. So there's no pre-screening. We don't pick a movie out of a festival and go, oh, we all love that one, it's going to totally get in. Everybody gets like the same level playing field with us. I know that's true of a lot of festivals, and I know it's not true of a lot of festivals. But I always try to tell everybody I'm really prefer to be as transparent as possible because I did work as a filmmaker and a lot of my friends are filmmakers, and I feel like you deserve to, the more you know, the better. As you're going in, all I can really tell people is to look at our past programming and see where our tastes tend to lie. And that doesn't mean that we have a real specific niche. Like there's movies that I would say like, oh, that's a Sundance movie, or that's a Slam Dance movie, or, oh, I can see that as a competition movie at Tribeca or South by, where I feel like they have a note of similarity to them. Our competition films are absolutely outrageously across the board. Like there might be a really nice family movie in there, maybe not like a PG movie, but like a nice sweet story about a family having a dramedy dinner party type of thing. It'll be put next to like Mickey Reese's new movie, or something completely insane. Last year our competition had Jocelyn DeBauer and Don Luby's Greener Grass in it. There's definitely people that walked out of Greener Grass like, what the hell did you make me sit through? But we were totally willing to go. Like I said, we're here to push the buttons. So, I guess I would just tell you is that, as filmmakers, is to look at what we've put in the past. A lot of that by the time the next festival rolls around is available, and get a good idea of, what your programmers are into. But it's hard for me to just specifically say like there's some formula that you could hit that would make my 3 programmers, because they switch up from year to year, so they might not be the same 3 programmers this year that they are next year in, say, narrative features. So I couldn't really say like, oh, that's that or that's that. I know personally like, oh, if I get a documentary about this, I'm going to send it to these 2 first before I send it to this 3rd person, because this isn't going to be in their ballpark. And so right. I know how to work my team in terms of making sure your movie goes to the team members it should be seeing before it gets to the last pass kind of deal. I don't know. Did that help at all?
And I think maybe as a follow-up, kind of the inverse of that previous question, and this maybe doesn't even have to be specific to your festival, but what are some of the biggest mistakes you see filmmakers making when they're submitting to festivals, or just kind of even compiling their overall strategy for submitting to film festivals?
Actually, that's a great question, because I actually bring this up a lot when I have to go to talk at colleges. And I always tell filmmakers that you need to pick the first mistake you make is not picking one of 2 tracks with your movie. So when you got your movie done and you're going out on the festival circuit, and there's 2 paths you can choose. First path is, I will play my movie anywhere. I don't care where it is. and just take what it comes. The other one is to have a very concise plan of the festivals you want to play at and then go after those festivals. And you can put a pie in the sky in there like a Sundance, but you should also have some, like, I think like applying to college, like you should have a safety school or two in your mix. And then if all of those festivals reject you, then you can go do path 2. But the problem I tend to find is that a lot of people just pick path 1 because they don't know what they're doing necessarily on the festival circuit. And by taking anything you can, you will start to eliminate festivals you would have rather played when you run into the politics of premiere statuses. Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, a couple of years ago, we had a film that we world premiered that it was phenomenal. A friend of mine at Fantastic Fest reached out, wanted to see the movie, saw the movie, absolutely adored the movie, loved it so much, was all ready to go, and found out it had played the Hill Country Film Festival in outside of Houston or something like that, and eliminated it from their ability to play it as a competition movie because they require a Texas premiere at Fantastic Fest. So it's just kind of one of those examples where first-time filmmaker, first movie out of college, really good, and just kind of got bit a little bit in the butt by not really having a festival strategy.
And now, does that same rule apply to shorts? It seems like there's a lot more flexibility around those, and like people don't necessarily care as much about a premiere with a short film as they do a feature, right?
Yeah, there's a way more lenience with your short film. The biggest thing for us is, and now we just signed the pledge with like about 150 other festivals because of what's going on this year, that for basically the next 2 years, this year's festival and next year's, we're not going to look at your premiere status at all as a deciding factor. But we do a Florida minimum premiere requirement on shorts that play competition for us, but that's because our 3 competition categories, which are narrative shorts, documentary shorts, and animated shorts, are all accredited for the Oscars, and we're the only festival in Florida that is. But for the other parts of it, like international shorts and midnights and experimental and all those other things, we don't care about any of that. And like I said, for the next 2 festivals, we're going to not really enforce our premiere status requirement anyway. And shorts also, there's a lot of flexibility, which is most festivals will play your short even if it's online, which, you know, I'd say probably every year, probably 15% of the shorts that get programmed are probably somewhere on the internet, like New York Times op-ed docs and things like that. But yeah, you have way more flexibility with shorts, but it's also because most festivals are programming dozens and dozens of shorts. And like for features, you know, it's usually like 10 in competition at most of your major festivals. So they want some level of cachet on those 10 movies because you're getting hundreds of entries and you're narrowing it down to virtually nothing. So you'd like the nothing that you've narrowed it down to have a little, I don't know what you'd call it, but excitement about playing your festival and have it not already played like 4 other festivals in the state.
Right, and I think the percentages of 15 are going to go up substantially with what's going on, of course. But
oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I love the analogy of the safety school because I think that's some really solid advice that we're one of the reasons we're doing this show is to try to maybe curb some of the bad habits of filmmakers, as we've talked about already. Do you feel good about the lifting the sanctions, if you will, on premiere status for the next year? Do you think that might become more of a norm, or do you think festivals will kind of revert back to the status quo?
No, I think the problem is the status quo is driven by a select few festivals. I think, you know, I've talked about this a lot with a friend of mine who used to be the Slamdance manager, and we used to say, like, we hate premiere status requirements. We hate enforcing them. We hate having to tell a filmmaker that gets in your festival that turns out gets an offer in another festival in the same state, you know, 2 weeks before your festival to say, like, I mean, we've had it where literally the festivals have overlapped. And we've had to say, like, you can get in there, but we got to get it off first. But if you can't get it off first, then you can't play there. And it sort of like defeats this purpose of like, hey, if you're going to fly into Florida to support your movie, you should be able to drive 2 hours south and support it at another festival because the overlap in audience is so minimal. And I think none of us would like to play the premiere game, and you'll hear that a lot from programmers and a lot from program coordinators. First of all, we hate losing really great movies by finding out after we've accepted them that they've already agreed to play at this other festival, and you can't. It's a real kind of dick move to say, like, well, you should drop out of that festival that you already agreed to play and play in ours. So usually we, say, well, kind of sucks, but we have a lot of backups. I mean, the competition is fierce. I think in our shorts, our acceptance rate this year was 3.7%. So believe me, there's stuff that didn't get in that we love. So that does give us a chance to put something in that maybe we felt sad about dropping out of there. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad at all about the next, year and a half plus of ignoring premiere status, because at the end of the day, I hate the premiere status game probably as much, if not more, than the filmmakers do. So I'm okay with taking it off the table. I don't think that it'll vanish, because that will take an edict from 5 or 6 major festivals in this country to make it not matter for anybody else.
Right. As somebody who has been, like you said, to several of the big ones, multiple years, Cannes, South by, and TIFF, and running your own, of course, is there something you actually think filmmakers can do to better their exposure once they're selected? Like, obviously by showing up and Q&Aing and things like that, but is there any other steps you'd suggest a filmmaker doing to kind of maximize their festival experience?
One of the things I like is filmmakers to do trailer drops. Aaron did that, obviously, with Camera Obscura. And, after announcing the world premiere of Camera Obscura that we had a couple years ago, they did a trailer drop. And that's great. And we actually just had a filmmaker that was our opening night movie this year, which theoretically is still going to occur in August whenever we get all the contracts fixed up. And his trailer drop happened yesterday on Variety. So, I mean, that's really great stuff. But anywhere you can go to essentially start to promote things, and obviously shorts, that's a whole different ballgame and probably a lot harder. And I think Facebook is still probably your best friend for stuff like that. But if you're a feature and, you haven't dumped a trailer out yet, those are really nice ways to do it. It gets the festival's name out there with where it's going to play. It gets your trailer put up on Variety. You get to use that, show your investors and things like that. Hey, look, the movie's up on Variety. Yay. Those are always really great things to do. Like all festivals, our festival has a media and marketing contact, and they'll put you in touch with all the local papers and local, critics and things like that as well. And so reaching out and asking for the contact sheet for that is always really good. There's lots of stuff you can do, but I still feel like social media is your best champion to a degree. I mean, that's your part of the self-promotion of it. My joke I always tell my filmmakers is like, look, if you guys don't know anything about marketing your own movie, just go hire like a 19-year-old girl that's in film school and just tell her to dump it onto Instagram and Snapchat and everywhere else. Because like I said, we joked out, I've dated myself with age, but literally like my daughter's 16 and she's got like 700 different social media apps. I don't even know what all of them are, and I'm scared to find out.
Yeah, I still can't quite figure out Snapchat, I must admit. The UI is terrible. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get how people use that as a primary communication platform. It's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the stories are what's driving it. I mean, Snapchat's sort of the reason Instagram started Instagram stories. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, just a different visual medium. And it's just really interesting to hear the way kids are processing media now, and something that filmmakers should definitely be aware of, because that's definitely where things are headed. So I'm kind of curious if you have a favorite moment from your film festival or even others that you've attended, like a success story of a filmmaker, maybe discovering some hidden gem, or like just a moment where you totally programmed a film that won over a crowd and you didn't expect it to, or maybe made them throw up and leave the room. I don't know. Do you have a cool story like that?
I don't even know how I could narrow that down. There's like a million of those.
People pass out all the time and at Sundance, apparently.
Yeah, I think that's due to altitude. I'm still think that's altitude and no sleep.
Yeah.
I would say some highlights were actually before I officially accepted the programming coordinator job for the Florida Film Festival, they asked me to run the 90-minute Q&A with Sam Rockwell a few years ago. And ironically, I had done a one-on-one with Sam and Duncan Jones at South by years earlier when Moon premiered. And amazingly, Rockwell remembered that because his agency had to clear the person who was going to do his Q&A. So that was really great. And then hanging out with him beforehand, and he brought Leslie Bibb with him. And yeah, just talking about movies and then going and doing 90 minutes on stage with him. He's great. That's probably one of my big highlights. But I'd say from programming, I mean, I'm definitely the person where like if the movie upsets the audience greatly, it's my fault almost entirely. So I feel like the two that I won on that were playing Clown the movie, which someone actually berated me in the hallway, like screaming over. and then Wetlands, the German film, which many people walked out.
I was half expecting to hear you say Greasy Strangler.
No, you know what? That actually was a free screening, and it was a surprise screening, and that was completely packed, and everybody loved it. If you come to the secret screening, you know what you're getting into. Like over the years, it's been Greasy Strangler, and it's been Assholes, and it was Curse of Snakes Valley, the Russian Indiana Jones ripoff from 1990, and you really know what you're getting into if you go to that. Like we did Porno last year, Kyola Racella's Porno, and nobody has any idea what that movie is until we walk out on stage. The fun thing about that is to having people come in. Like Michael St. Michael recorded an intro, Kyola came in for Porno, Peter Vack came in for Assholes. We actually had to physically subtitle Curse of Snakes Valley ourselves because the Baltic Film Institute sent the movie on one file and the subtitles on another. Yeah, it was, you know what you're getting into.
Right. I think there's an allure to that, of course, though. Like I'm sure you've done some secret screenings at Fantastic Fest as well. It's a fun gamble, and even if there's a weird letdown that you think it's one thing, you usually walk out happy that you watched 90 minutes of depravity some other way.
Yeah, I like what Fantastic Fest does I like the AgFest secret screenings because that's where the weird shit's going to drop.
They're actually putting on their Weird Wednesdays and Terror Tuesdays, I think, online currently, but we'll get to that. And in fact, let's segue to that. So that's a ton of helpful info and good advice to filmmakers about festivals for sure. But let's address the elephant in the room, that being that festivals worldwide are currently postponed or canceled outright, unfortunately, due to coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, just take it seriously. But you yourself have obviously been greatly impacted by this, both as a festival and theater runner. Yeah,
the theater's been closed this is day 20 that I've been home. I'm buying a lot of stuff on the internet that is going to totally bankrupt me. The festival is delayed until mid-August. We've got a request in because we use 2 screens at Regal and then we use our home screen. And we're waiting for Regal to reopen before they will make a decision to determine whether we can have the dates we have asked for. So we are in a true holding pattern. And we've had several meetings in person on it. And then this week we began the journey that is Zoom conferencing. And that is okay so far. Just working on strategy. Like a lot of independent theaters, we're using the streaming platform that the indie distributors have provided. So we're running Oscilloscope movies and Film Movement stuff. Bleecker Street's got some stuff coming down the pipe, as does Sony Classics. We played some Magnolia titles, and that's great. I mean, they're covering all the expenses. They're hosting everything. We're collecting, and that's covering some paychecks, which is great. I mean, it's very helpful. I mean, that's better than a lot of my friends are doing. A lot of them have been furloughed. A lot of them have been completely let go and are applying for unemployment right now at a lot of major festivals. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, Scare Package itself was set to play there, in a week from now? So yeah, it's been a rough go. Yeah, we missed a handful of festivals. We were fortunate to play a few before this all started, but we still may not have seen the worst of it. But yeah, it stinks to be in that holding pattern, like you said, with so many people just not knowing yet what to happen. When you were talking about the digital releasing, were you talking about via the Kino Lorber, or is that a different?
Yeah, Kino Marquee's doing a bunch of stuff too. Basically, a lot of the indie distributors, which is kind of was spearheaded by Film Movement and Kino, I believe, together to launch these titles VOD, and then the theaters get to collect a percentage, and that's been as high as 100% and as low as 40%. But for the most part, it's about 50-50. You pay your $10 rental fee or $12 rental fee, whatever the movie's charging at, and half goes to the distributor and half goes to the theater, which is pretty much the same kind of a deal you would work out with if you're running the movie in-house. It's just that we're not running it in our house anymore. We're running it in your house.
So do you see some sort of like ripple effect? I mean, obviously we don't know how this situation will evolve over time, and we don't know when things will come back to normal, whatever that means now. What our new normal will be. But what kind of ripple effects do you see going forward, looking into next year at festivals and maybe just even the industry at large? I mean, there's almost like a backlog, perhaps you could say, of films that are waiting to get screened now. But then current production has also been halted. So I'm kind of curious how you see that impacting festivals next year.
Yeah, I think next year's festival is going to be really interesting. I guess the question is going to really fall down a lot to the films that hadn't premiered yet. We had 8 films at Florida that were going to have their world premieres about 24 hours earlier at Tribeca. So by Tribeca also being in a postponement category, they didn't cancel outright. Even if we come back in August, we don't really know the fate of those movies. Will they? We know that, we think Tribeca is not going to hold premiere status requirements over anybody either, because they don't even know when they're coming back online. So our goals in the festival, at least in that term, is to support the filmmakers and get their movies out there as much as possible. And I think next year we are going to be looking potentially at a lot of the same movies again, which may bode well for the films that were just on the cusp, that didn't get in. There's so many less fall festivals than there are spring for indie filmmakers, because the fall festival circuit is just eaten alive by big Oscar fests. And the spring is where the smaller indie stuff premieres. So my gut feeling is there's movies that are going to show up next year that were done for this spring run that never got out there. Now, the movies that have already premiered, like you guys is a good example with Scare Packages, that you've got a release on the books coming up. So those movies that, got their Sundances or got their Slam Dances or got some other fests out of the way before the hammer started to fall. And I mean, it fell early with South by. Those movies have got, I think they're going to get their deals and they're going to get their VODs and their Amazon Primes and their Netflixes out of it. But I'm really curious as to how big the backlog could show up next year, because there's probably plenty of indies that are in post right now that would be the spring entries for next year anyway. I mean, sure, there's stuff that hasn't been shot yet. And I think, the bellwether for that's going to be Sundance, because Sundance films are notorious for the movies getting finished on like January 2nd and then delivering their newly minted DCPs on like the 16th to world premiere on the 20th. So who knows? Because yeah, I have lots of friends in holding patterns that were due to be shooting their movies in May and June that have no idea if they're going to be filming at all.
Right. And I must ask you, because this was a topic earlier, how do you feel about the South by Southwest teaming with Amazon to do, release some of the features and short films that never got to screen there?
Man, that's such a dangerous topic to get it started on.
I had a strong opinion myself, so please feel free.
I'll tell you my base opinion on it, which is that for shorts, it doesn't matter. Put them all out there as much as you can. My concern with it is that very simple. If you're a feature, I don't think any feature films will sign on to that deal if they have a sales agent, because the sales agent would never let you do that, because they're going to put it in no firewall, totally free for anyone with an Amazon membership for 10 days, which frankly, 1 million people could watch your movie in that window. So my gut feeling is that if you're an indie and South by was your dream, to get it sold and you kind of don't know what you're doing, I don't mean that in a way to slight you. I guess take this your shot, but I think you need to recognize that that will be your release of your movie, because I can't imagine any distributor on earth buying a movie that ran on Prime for 10 days for completely free.
Right, and that's part of the big risk we were talking about is the overseas market. Stuff gets pirated within 3 hours of being on any streaming service, so much less 10 days free.
Absolutely.
It's lost its value immediately for a lot of international markets. So it is an option. It is a choice for them, like you said, and we can't reiterate that enough. But I do worry about some of the smaller filmmakers, like you said, who that was their hope, that it was going to sell from there. I don't know that they have as many options as they would have.
And I've seen a lot of movies that got in the competition lineup there, and there's definitely a handful of them that, if they came to me and asked me, I'd probably say, you know what? Go for it. Because at the end of the day, I feel like those are the kind of movies that are real niche indie stuff that South by is sort of known for, which is great because they're really scrappy movies. But at the end of the day, their distro deal that they'd signed for this movie maybe a year out probably wasn't going to pay them anything anyway. It would just be a matter of getting the movie out there. So I'd say if that's your movie, it's scrappy indie made for no money, all takes place at a house party, something like that, go for it. And then, after you're done with that, set up the movie on Prime yourself. Because you can still do that as a filmmaker and then just trade in on the hype that you got from being in South by, being on Prime, and then move the movie back to Prime yourself, through their VOD platform. Indie guys can take advantage of anyway, because at the end of the day, I don't see anybody buying it. But there's movies out there, if you got anybody in your movie that's ever been on any TV show ever or something, maybe this isn't the best deal for you.
I saw Venice and others like fully ruling out the digital option right now. Do you see this as kind of a one-off? I don't know if it's a combination of South by had not refunded the badges and things like that, or if it's a goodwill thing. As we said, it's good for consumers, but very risky as we're talking about for filmmakers. But do you think the larger festivals are going to just hold fast and kind of wait it out?
Yeah, I mean, we're the same way. We don't want to go digital, and come hell or high water, we won't. To me, digital is its own animal. We're here to celebrate the art of film and the art of cinema, and to me, that lives and dies on the big screen. So getting in to sit in that darkened theater and the lights go down and you get to watch that movie and then the filmmakers come on stage and run that Q&A, that is an event. I mean, one of those things that makes South by great, Fantastic Fest is really good about this too. And, you know, a lot of other festivals are as well, but there is a vibe that happens when you go to a film festival and you want to play in front of an enthusiastic audience. At the end of the day, lots of movies have sold at a lot of festivals for a lot more money than they probably were ever going to make. And every year there's a sale that happens at Sundance or somewhere else where we just look at it and go, there is no way this movie will ever make back the amount of money they just spent doing it. And a lot of that is sold, and those filmmakers got paid, and thank God they did, and that's what they deserve, based on that vibe and that hype and all that was going on in that moment, because you're at altitude and your brain capacity is lower and you drank some 3% beer and you're ready to go, and a bidding war kicks out. And that's just not going to happen if your platform is VOD. Like, there's not going to be a bunch of distributors sitting around watching your movie on, you know, Amazon Prime starting a bidding war over it. I can't see that happening. There's no electricity behind it.
Right. And I think that's one thing about this whole experience is that it's really showcasing all the things that we miss from a sense of community, being with other people and experiencing something at the same time. You know, there's long been the argument about digital replacing some of those physical real world experiences. But I think while maybe this experience is showing us that we can do a lot of things digitally that maybe we never realized we could or didn't take advantage of the tools that we had to do so, I think it's also kind of showcasing that longing for connection in a different way. And it's certainly one of the things I love about movies is seeing how the audience reacts, laughing with people. Like, when I watch a comedy at home, I don't laugh out loud by myself. But when I go see it in the theater, I'm laughing out loud. And part of it's just like hearing everyone around you responding to it. And
yeah, it's group
in
psychosis.
addition to the business aspect about like bidding wars and stuff like that, they're seeing how people respond to the movie, and that's inspiring them. So,
but you nailed it with comedy. Like, when I watch a comedy at home, I almost never laugh.
right.
But if I go to a theater, even the dumbest movie, I usually crack up, like, watching it. I call it's group psychosis. That's what I like narrow it down to. For everybody who talks about the idea that video on demand could completely replace theatrical experience, and I'm on a Facebook group that keeps just posting things daily about how this is the death of cinemas, is I would tell anyone that says that to go on YouTube and watch, I don't care, Iron Maiden live in concert. And then tell me if that's comparable to going to an arena with 20,000 people and seeing Iron Maiden live in concert. There's no comparison.
It's not. I've seen Iron Maiden live in concert. I can assure you it is most definitely not.
Yeah, so that's to me is a good example of it. Like, watching a basketball game on TV is not the same as going to a basketball game. I don't really like sports, and I will never watch sports on TV except maybe hockey. But like, if somebody's like, hey, do you want to go to this basketball game with me and see the Magic play? I'll go, because you have fun. It's an experience.
No, you're equating two things that are not movies, but they're valid comparisons. Nothing is better than a live experience for the most part. Even if your friend has that 100-inch projection screen in his house with crazy sound, it's still not the same.
I got a friend with Dolby Atmos. He's like, come over and listen to my system. I bought a Dolby Atmos system for like $3,000. Wow. And I'm like, yeah, it's still not as good as going in the theater.
Yeah. It's because you're not there with a variety of other people. Some you know, some you don't know. That's what it's all about. So now we're going to transition into something totally different.
Awesome.
So this is the questionnaire kind of thing, but it's not a boring census questionnaire. It's like this rapid fire questions, and you can idea is for you to answer quickly with what comes to mind first. But don't panic or anything if you need a little time to think about it. It's totally cool.
I imagine Tim is familiar with James Lipton's Inside the Actor Studio.
I know, this is totally going to be my Inside the Actor Studio.
It's tailored for Tim Anderson's Sprouse questionnaire. Let's say that.
I'm ready.
Exactly. All right. So the first one. What movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
Jaws, like over 300 times.
Oh, you're in good company here with Sean then.
It's near perfect movie. What is your favorite horror movie franchise?
Uh, Friday the 13th.
Nice. Your favorite Universal monster movie?
Invisible Man.
The 2020 version, you mean?
No, the original.
They're both good. They're both good.
I'm going to think, looking at Tim's Facebook about this one. What is your favorite movie about breakdancing?
Break into Electric Boogaloo.
Okay, what is your favorite French language film?
Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast.
How about your favorite Alfred Hitchcock film?
It's Rope.
Hey, me too. That's a good answer.
Oh, awesome. Love Rope.
All right, another director, Ingmar Bergman. Favorite movie?
So my actual favorite movie of his is Summer with Monica, which is like nobody's seen.
I was going to say, no one's ever answered that.
I don't think I've ever even heard of it, to be honest.
Really good. It's really good. My second one's Virgin Spring.
Okay.
They both have to do with seasons, so.
Yeah.
All right, then who would you say is your all-time favorite director?
Krzysztof Kieslowski.
Oh, I was not expecting that. The Three Colors?
Yeah, Three Colors, Double Life of Veronique, Decalogue. He's a perfect filmmaker.
Right, so what fandom would you say you're most ingrained in or identify with? You know, what do you obsess over the most?
Harry Potter.
Ooh, I didn't expect that.
I'm a Harry Potter junkie. I have Harry Potter tattoos. I have an entire room dedicated to Harry Potter crap.
All right, tangent away from the rapid fire, we must ask, this is not part of the questionnaire, but which house do you think you belong in? Which house are you really?
I think I belong in Slytherin, but I'm really like kind of a Ravenclaw Gryffindor hybrid.
Fair enough.
I'm a Slytherin.
I aspire to be evil, though.
What would you say is your dream film project to direct, like assuming budget and story rights and stuff is not a concern?
Oh, actually, this is amazing. Quick, I was just talking about this the other day. It's actually to remake Grave of the Fireflies as a live-action movie.
You want to destroy us all and make us cry.
Yeah, I want to make you cry a lot.
I think a live-action one would absolutely do that to people.
Yep.
Okay. What is your favorite Elvis Costello album?
King of America.
No hesitation. I like it.
How about your best concert experience?
Oh. I got drunk with the Pogues at the Metro in Chicago, so I'm going with that. Like, got to go hang out with them after it was over and get wasted. So
the best concert and after concert experience.
I mean, they were phenomenal live too.
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
That's awesome. Okay, so if you could program any double feature at the NCN, what would the two films be?
Oh man, I'm gonna try to do it this summer, so cross your fingers. I want to play BMX Bandits and Rad.
Oh,
I love it.
What about Torque? Come on, make it a triple.
So many good BMX movies.
If that goes over well with the audience, follow up with Solar Babies and Prayer of the Roller Boys.
Ooh, that's so good too. Prayer of the Roller Boys. I haven't seen that since the 90s.
Speaking of the 90s, I don't know how far back you said, what was the single most rented movie in your tenure at Blockbuster Video?
If I had to guess, it was probably between Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption. I was there for 5 years, and both those movies rented for forever. Swingers did too.
Yeah, so definitely mid-90s era.
Yeah, it was 94, 95.
So you mentioned Zoom meetings earlier. What is the best Zoom virtual background you've seen so far?
I've only seen one, and I didn't get the reference, but I think it's from Schitt's Creek. Is there like a wigs, like a room full of wigs or something? Maybe not. I don't know. Somebody had posted it, and I was like, I didn't even know you could change backgrounds. So I've got to work on that.
Oh, yeah. I just show up to meetings with a different background every time.
The best thing I saw was someone sent me a video of like a group chat that had like 20 people on it, and all of them are watching, but one of them was like a girl who was like walking around her house, and then she went to the bathroom.
Oh, no. Yeah, I saw that. I think, they were like, oh, no, Jennifer, no. Because she forgot she wasn't, like, muted and her video was on. Oh, no.
Just like a Naked Gun bit in real life.
I know. Jeez. That was like gold.
Well, thank you. Those are some solid answers and a couple unexpected ones, but we dug it.
Good. I always aim to shock.
A couple more off the books here. What film reference have you gotten more in life in regards to your name? Did you get the There's Some Who Call Me Tim from Monty Python or the Mr. Anderson from Matrix?
No. So many Mr. Andersons, man. I never not get that.
I'm very sorry.
I am too.
Your name could be Becky. It could be worse. I get
Oh,
a
that's
lot.
true. You were like a punchline of a song.
That's true,
Oh,
but you know what? I feel like
two songs. When Lemonade came out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, gotta find Becky and get her."
My recency bias, that's the one I was thinking of. I had completely forgotten about your youth with Baby Got Back.
how can you
Yeah.
forget about Baby Got Back?
Because I thought of Becky with the good hair first, I guess.
I
Yeah.
feel really bad because I have a friend named Karen right now, and
Oh, no.
there's a lot of
Oh.
Karen. Poor
Whole
Karen.
generation's getting labeled one.
It's too bad. All right, one more. Again, off the books one. What do you think the first restaurant you'll go to and sit down and eat at once all the quarantining is over?
I haven't actually thought about this yet because I don't go out that often. When I do like kind of hyper local places. So I don't know. There's probably just like there's a small Mexican place that's like by my office that I can never even remember the name of. Probably there, corner of Lee Road.
A lot of good taco stands there in Mel's 50.
Yeah, I mean, Hunger Street tacos. I mean, that's like in Taco China, which is, Asian taco. Yeah. I cook a lot at home, so I don't really go out that often. But it'll be something hyper local because I'm super against the chain thing.
Sorry, the questions can't stop. Now I must ask you. So you're throwing a house party, as you referenced a few times for like a movie plot. What's the thing you're cooking us all? What's like your specialty dish?
Oh, well, it'd probably be a Mexican spread. So I do carne asada tacos.
Oh, I'm coming over.
I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
In my head, I
sounds
see him
good.
stealing them from the chain down the street from the Enzion that he doesn't remember the name of in a Miss Doubtfire style.
Mine are awesome. Mine are really good.
Well, recipe coming soon. No, thank you, Tim, again for all that info on the festivals for sure. That's a lot of quality stuff. I think will assist some young people that are looking for a way in, especially in this holding pattern we're in. And
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
could drop one final like mini piece of advice out there too
Please
to
do.
the filmmakers, because I do tell this a lot too. Look, reach out to your programming coordinators. If you have questions before you submit, like I don't know any of us that aren't willing to take like 2 or 3 minutes to answer your question. I mean, I don't send like 17 emails, but like if you have a question or we're not going to lie to you just to get you to give us $30. Ask questions, but be sane about it.
Don't be weird and stalkery. Be
Yeah.
professional. Yeah, I've heard that advice from numerous programmers. It's like reach out. It makes a big difference in terms of, you can save yourself some money, if it's maybe not the right festival for you to submit to, or maybe you can make your package a little more appealing. And it's just, maybe they'll remember your name when they're looking at it, and it just gives you one more step above all the anonymous submissions coming in.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, as long as you're sincere and heartfelt, reach out. And I guess the only other thing I would say on that too is that there's a fine line between checking in on your movie and driving someone crazy, and that line ends at email too. So, you'd probably get more like memory recognition if you know somebody that played the film festival before, and that person reached out on your behalf and said, "Hey, man, a friend of mine submitted a movie. Just put it on your radar," because that's someone we have a history with and theoretically trust their opinion.
Right. And they're less likely to be a total psychopath
Yes,
out of the blue.
correct. Yeah, it's much less likely that you're going to back someone who's going to give you a bad name.
Exactly.
So, my final words of wisdom.
no, we appreciate it. And we appreciate taking the time with us here on the show. Where can folks find you online if you have somewhere you want them to check you out?
I mean, I'm on Facebook. You can find me probably just liking crap on Enzion's Facebook page because I don't actually even know what my Facebook thing is.
Well, yeah, how about we suggest that Festival in Enzion are a good place to
Yeah,
start.
check out Enzion on Facebook, Florida Film Festival on Facebook. Enzion.org, our website, has my actual email address on it for work. And the festival website has that as well as Film Freeway. So if you're a filmmaker that's reaching out and it's more official, I'd probably use the Film Freeway contact, which is actually a generic, but then forwards instantaneously to only me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not hard to find.
Awesome.
Good to know. And his pleasantries will end after email too, as he said, no matter whether it's professional or...
Yes, around after email too, they start getting
Do not
less
hound him.
pleasant.
All right, Tim. Thank you again for the time.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, take
thanks,
care.
Tim. Bye-bye.